Welcome to Mentoring Unlocked, hosted by Lendlease, founder of Serendipitous Leadership and MentorKey, the platform making mentoring impactful and elevating workplace development conversations. Maud is a renowned executive coach and leadership strategist with over 2 decades of experience, helping leaders unlock their full potential through adaptive leadership and meaningful mentoring. Tune in for personal mentoring stories, expert insights, practical tools, and bold conversations. Whether you're a mentor, mentee, or a culture shaper, there's something for you.
My guest today is Penny Ransom. Penny, thank you so much for being here. We met in 2014, do you remember? We were talking about launching a mentoring program. You were heading up the Women and Diversity Committee for the Property Council of Australia at the time.
Yeah.
And you had an uncompromising passion to support women in the property industry. And we set up this program together, which actually has just celebrated its 11th anniversary.
Wow.
So
it's amazing.
your legacy is still there. Thank you so much for being. Can't wait to hear about what mentoring has done for you in your career. And also I want to hear about the role that you have played in other people's career and what you've drawn out of being a mentor yourself.
Yeah.
Wonderful. You're currently the Chief Investment Officer at Lendlease. Tell us a little bit about what drew you into this role, what you love in this role, and a bit of highlight about the ups and downs of a career of an executive in corporate Australia these days.
Yeah, thanks, Maud. So, yeah, Chief Investment Officer of Lendlease, which is an amazing role. I look after the capital allocation for Lendlease in terms of how we invest our balance sheet. And also I look after the third-party capital relationship, capital raising that we do with our really important investors. So Lendlease is a company that's a development, construction and an investment firm here in Australia. We also have an international investment management business. And what we do is we partner with third-party investors to create amazing places across a number of different sectors. We've been operational for over 60 years.
60.
And I've actually been with the company now collectively for 16 years,
Wow.
which is amazing. But I've only been back for 2 and a bit years.
Yes.
And I had a previous stint with Lendlease 14 years ago. Look, it's a global role, which I really, really enjoy. Lendlease is always pushing the boundaries in terms of what it can create. Barangaroo is a really good example of a destination and a place where we conceived it from the beginning and then delivered it right through. And now that's where our headquarters is as well.
Of course.
Yes. And it's amazing.
Yes.
I've been in the role as a senior leader for just over 2 years. And it's a very different perspective to the role I had when I was there for 14 years earlier on in my career.
Yes, yes. That's a fascinating trajectory, actually, to spend your first, was it your first, I guess, formative years in the property industry, 14 years with Lendlease and then a lot of other roles in between and then back at Lendlease. That's a fantastic on Lendlease to have attracted you again.
Yeah.
Tell us about the role that mentors have played throughout your career.
Oh, I can't sort of shout from the ceilings enough how amazing the mentors have been in me navigating my career.
Yes.
So over 30 years in the property industry, and I began in valuation. And in being a valuer, I was involved with valuing a lot of assets that Lendlease had either created in the past and didn't own anymore, or that they did own across a number of different sectors, and got to know the company really well in my role as a valuer. And I always wanted to work. I thought one day I want to be, able to work at a company like that.
Wow.
And it came knocking on my door very early on. So 4 years into my career, and I actually joined Lendlease. And I had a number of roles with Lendlease, from transactions through to asset management, investment management, funds management, equity raising. And it was really a career of 14 years that I had with them. First 10 across Asia Pacific and the last 4 in Europe, in London, which was amazing. And if I think back to all the opportunity I had to go to Lendlease in the first time, but then also navigate the various opportunities I had within Lendlease during that time. Mentors and sponsors played a huge role for me in that, and to navigate whether I should or shouldn't make certain moves, to advise me how to look at my career, how to think about, those really formative years of, if you think about the first even just 15 years of a career, it's when you're gaining all your various bits of experience, you're working out what your strengths are, what you enjoy doing, what gets you out of bed in the morning. And Lendlease was amazing to continue to be able to offer me opportunities. But it was the mentors that helped me navigate those decisions, and even the decision to go to London and what that would mean for my career. So that was amazing, and mentors played a huge role for me in making those decisions. They didn't tell me what to do. They just presented the I guess the external perspective, which helped me navigate the decision. And then I navigated 12 years of across 2 companies, lots of different roles, lots of different senior leadership positions, and an opportunity came back. I called the same mentor for their advice as well
on the way back,
whether I should come back, and because it was an opportunity that was just too good. Too good to give up. Lendlease has always been a really important part of me in terms of connecting yourself with the culture of another organisation. And somewhat, I didn't necessarily want to leave in the first place, but it enabled me to go and get all this rich experience.
Amazing.
And then hopefully, what I'm doing now is bringing that back and helping Lendlease navigate the next phase of its journey.
What I love about this story is that you've kept that relationship with your mentor for a number of years, someone who got to know you really, really well. And yet you say that mentor has not actually given you advice. They've just presented different facets of the decision you needed to make and let you make the decision. Do you think it's easy for a mentor not to say, I think you need to do this?
Yes, it is. And I find myself, when I'm doing mentoring, I find that very difficult as well. Because you just think, you can see it. Because often as a mentor, I think you are sitting a bit more back. So maybe it's a bit more obvious.
That's
right. Potentially.
Yes, you've got that perspective. So it's very obvious as to what the person needs to do. And yet you don't want to tell them.
And you don't also have that as an emotional connection then to the, so you can probably be... a bit more, I don't know if the word, but pragmatic, I'm not sure, but it's, you just that level back that you can see it. So, the mentors for me, and I did have one decision when I was in that 12 years away across working in those 2 other organisations where I was had an opportunity to move sideways. And I was like, oh, well, that's not necessarily what I really want to be doing right now, because I was quite emotionally connected to the path I was on and where I wanted to go. And again, I've always had this inner, because it's always been it played such an important role to help me navigate going forward. I knew I had to check in. I couldn't just dismiss it. I had to check in and just run it past someone so that I'd know that I was giving the opportunity enough time that it needed. And they help me see that, stand back and sort of go, right, well, if you look around the market at the moment, not much is necessary. And so that you thinking you want to go there next is probably not going to happen. So you need to be realistic about whether where you do want to go is actually going to be an option at the moment. So if it's probably not for a couple of years, then this option is actually a very good option for these reasons, because it will give you the exposure to X, Y, Z. And in fact, that role that I took was the most pivotal role to get me to where I am today.
Interesting. And yet it was a sideways move at the time, and it wasn't obvious.
It wasn't obvious to me. I had people with that title reporting to me. So I was sort of like, I just wasn't perceiving it as being what it was. But then to have someone else provide a completely different perspective and say, well, actually, from an external perspective, it is seen as a big move up. And I was like, oh, I don't see that. They saw that, but they also saw it's going to give, the market is then going to look at your skills in a very different way, which will then give you a better opportunity to move to that next move that you want to make than if you don't take that. I didn't see that. I had no concept that was how it was being viewed, and it exactly did what what my mentor sort of explained from their perspective that it would
Yeah.
do. And my career took off from that point.
It's really interesting because everyone that I have the privilege of interviewing on this podcast tell me about a different role that their mentor has played. Some people tell me that their mentor has really challenged them. Some people tell me that they receive really harsh feedback from their mentor. Some people tell me that their mentor has given them confidence. For you, it feels like it's that strategic perspective. Step up on the balcony
Yes.
and come and I'll show you a different perspective on the choices you need to make.
Yes, definitely.
How have you nurtured that relationship with your mentor throughout the years for them to continue to be so relevant in giving you that perspective?
I think we worked very closely together for a number of years early on.
Yes.
So we built a very good core relationship.
Yes.
And friendship,
Yes.
and so that's been very, I think
Yes.
that certainly helped. And I just, like your good friends from school, I guess, they're always there, you might not see them for a year or two, but you pick up the phone and it's as though nothing's changed.
Right. Okay.
They know, this person knows me to the core, knows my
That's it.
really to the core. And what makes me tick, what I'm good at, because they've seen my work, so they know how my brain ticks and how I am in all the various situations in a workplace.
Yes.
And I guess because they've been with me along that journey, they know they've just watched me evolve too as an individual. So every time you have a conversation around, a career choice, you inevitably talk about, well, where is it you're thinking you want to go now? So they've watched, I guess, that progress for me as well.
Yes.
Just a great person as well. So, yeah.
I loved how you said this person knows me to the core. But yet they're not telling you what to do.
No.
How have you nurtured that relationship over the years, particularly if you spend 2 years without necessarily talking to them? What do you think makes them that impactful mentor for you?
I think it comes from within. I think people, have it as part of their, just all-round person that helps people generally. I think very giving person.
Yes.
And not very selfish, in that sense. So just naturally, always there. So, yeah.
Now, you've been a mentor yourself to many others.
Yes.
I'd love to hear, I guess, what the lessons have been for you as a mentor in perhaps giving back to others in the way that you've received from that mentor.
Yeah, look, I'm very passionate, as you know, from when we created that program.
Yes.
Because, the real estate or property industry is typically, and especially at a senior level, it does have a high proportion of males. Which is great, that's the industry, but it doesn't, you do like that, especially when I began in the industry, it was a very male-dominated industry. Now it's made a huge progression in diversity and bringing diversity and inclusion into the industry, and a focus on trying to enhance that. So I think for me, I've prospered. I've never found it a problem for myself. I've felt like I've prospered, and actually through all of that, had twin girls. And when we moved to London, so I kept working through my career. I had 6 months here, 6 months there, what have you. So I've done the juggle. Had twins and kept working. And yes, I moved to 4 days, but I just recall at the time, it was a very big, do you take time out for good? Do you not? Do you do 3 days? Do you 4 days? And I found, how do you juggle that? Can you take a promotion while you've got young children? How do you manage that whole work life? How do you look after yourself? How do you, all those aspects about, how do you move countries, all those bits. And I guess I came back to Australia and I thought, well, I've done all of that and I feel really full as a result of it, really, really great. And that I'm feeling very comfortable in my skin and what have you.
Full of those lessons as well.
From all of that.
Gone through all of it.
Yeah. And I just, must have been a certain point, obviously I still had young children, and so many people said, how did you do it? How did you navigate it? How did you? And can you come and talk to the team? Can you come and share this? Can you do that? And I just saw this massive need
Yes.
in the industry for people to see that it is possible and you can do
Yes.
it. Because one of the things I didn't have when I came in early was to be able to look up and see women who had successfully
Right.
navigated that. They were very few and far between. They were there, but they weren't there every day.
Yes.
So I decided I wanted to make it, had a passion to actually elevate that.
Yes.
Give more resources to people to make that decision. And
Yes.
when we particularly came together on the mentoring program, it was very much at the women that were at that point where they were needing to really commit to, yes, I really want to go forward with my career and I want to I want to do all of that. And how do I do that?
Yes. That transition from being a doer to being a leader in the midst of massive transformation from a personal perspective and demands on your personal times as well.
Yes.
This can be the very challenging transition that many women at the time were finding very challenging. And I agree with you, it has changed.
It has.
Fortunately, it has. But at the time, it was so critical. I want to come back to something you just said where, despite having an incredible, by the sound of it, an incredible mentor helping you throughout your career, you still felt that there was a need for female role model, that you didn't have that. When you looked up, you couldn't see anyone who looked like you and had a similar, perhaps, juggle between personal and professional life. Why do you think it's important that we have that role model, those role models to help us believe that we can get there?
I think there's so much you can get just through observation, that day to day, and that inner belief. And if you don't have that, then you'll question. You'll go, "Oh, I can't do that. I won't put myself forward." That won't. And also, well, why? You start questioning. Well, why is that the case? Is it because it's not viewed positively? Maybe.
Yes.
So maybe I shouldn't do it. All of those aspects of it. So, I just think the more you see people that aspire, that you can connect to and aspire to, that are more like you, then you can do it. I recall, only 10 years ago, sort of saying to myself, I don't think I have an aspiration to be a CEO because I don't have, with family, I don't have the time to navigate that. And all the CEOs that I looked back on at that time, that I'd seen in the property industry and I'd worked closely with, was sort of living in a way that, with the support that I did, that we don't necessarily have, a stay-at-home partner and all of those things, and I just sort of thought, well, I don't think I can do that, because I don't, if I do that, I've got to navigate that path myself. I've got to create that that space and do it for the first time, because I couldn't sort of see lots of role models of that happening. I think if you were looking up and seeing lots of women who have families and, successful doing that, you'd go, oh, that's a no-brainer. So
I can do that too.
I can do that too.
Yes.
So you've got enough to be trying to juggle and navigate, let alone trying to picture something that you can't see in action in front of you. So.
You just said something so pivotal for me, because we are still finding, particularly in pockets of some of the property or even the banking industry, that we're lacking female role models, and that has a direct impact on the level of drive that we see from younger women in those particular pockets of the profession. What you just said there, you said, if you don't see, you can't believe, and therefore you can't have that inner belief. So that inner belief in your own capabilities, that's what drives your ambition to get there. You can't have that inner belief unless you connect and relate to people who have done it. It's actually
helps.
Quite pragmatic, right? There's nothing really difficult to understand in that. And yet that's something, of course, that we need to tackle.
And of course, I'm at a point now, our girls are in year 12 and they're about to head off to university. So I'm actually at a position now in my career where I feel I actually do even have the scope and the all of that. So I was worried about something and probably I didn't need to be worried about. But again, because I didn't have anyone to take me on that journey or whatever,
to share
that. So I've always been very passionate about, when I, got to that point probably 15 years ago, that I wanted to start, I guess, reaching out and helping others to see and to understand and to help navigate that.
Yes.
and then I've just learnt more and more into that as I've gone further in my career.
So let's go into that.
Yeah.
How do you ignite that self-belief in someone who perhaps doesn't have it? And maybe you can see that they don't have enough of that self-belief to drive their ambition, to fuel that vision of progressing their career. How, as a mentor, have you managed to help women see that they can do more than perhaps what they believe themselves?
Yeah, I find with women in particular, it helps us to share my own experience.
Yes.
Because I feel that if I share my experience
Yes.
and I'm then showing that
Yes.
the reality of that it is possible.
It is possible.
And this is what helped me, or this is how I
Yes.
navigated it. And also, interestingly, I think another thing people don't realize is, you know, as you move into a leadership role, the type of work you do is very different. So often when you're sitting below a leadership role in more of a doing style, it's about production, what you produce.
Yes.
That's when you're working ridiculous hours through the night. You know, at the workload, it feels immense, and you go, I can't physically do the workload and manage the family and do this and this. So why on earth would I want to take on a leadership position as well?
Which feels even more.
Feels like more. You're going, I'm just going to hold myself back here because I don't think I can take that next step.
Yes.
What people don't realize is often when you take that next step, you're doing less doing.
Yes.
Right? So you have more time to do more thinking,
yes.
to do more strategizing. You're taking a whole lot more responsibility that comes, yes, with maybe more stress and all those things, and a different skill base. It's more about how you relate with your peers, and you're working internally and externally, and planning and determining strategy and things. But it's a very different to just churning and burning actual physical doing. And so you actually tend to have more headspace. So you actually can juggle more things, I find, actually, as I've moved up into leadership roles. I've actually got a better system to then be able to juggle more things. And so people don't know that until you're in that.
It's not visible.
Until you make that space, you don't actually realize that. So you can potentially hold yourself back.
Yes.
And so I've found with a lot of, you know, women that maybe are saying, oh, I've got this ahead of me with my family or with this, so I couldn't take that on.
Hold back.
And you say, do you realize if you actually take that kind of role on, it doesn't actually mean more hours. In fact, it could mean you've got more flexibility.
And you've got a team.
And you've got a team that you can rely on, you can delegate more, you can shuffle it around so it works better and you can actually get that balance right. And so even just sharing the realities of different roles, and because I have held so many different types of roles, from transactional roles to strategic roles to I guess front-facing marketing, so business development roles to reporting roles or whatever. So I've sort of sat in various types of roles within my career. I can give that perspective. It hasn't been that I've just sort of sat in one type of role, even though I've just elevated through the leadership positions. I have moved to different types of roles as well. So I can just sharing. I found just sharing that and you see a lot of light bulb moments. Oh, I didn't realize that. I hadn't thought about it that way. You know, get a lot of comments that way.
Yeah.
I find when I'm mentoring men, I guess I could say, because it doesn't feel right talking about mentoring females or mentoring men, but anyway, mentoring males, which I do because I'm also associated with the senior uni football group that does mentoring of the players. So they help about their careers outside of playing.
Yes.
For when they finish playing, you know, how do you navigate that? When I'm doing that, it's very much just a focus on helping them work out what are their strengths, what are they good at, where are they wanting to go.
Yes.
Where's the best place to, you know, to navigate, you know, getting them thinking about that. Like, what do you think your strengths are? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
Yes.
Helping that kind of conversation.
Yes.
So I find with mentoring, you can have conversations that lead you in that direction when someone's really just trying to work out where they want to go and why.
Yes.
Or often with working with women that are trying to navigate their career, let them understand what the next role might look like, how it might operate, and that it's not what you think, you know.
And what I'm hearing in that situation, when you're supporting someone who is perhaps just feeling so overwhelmed with what they have on and thinking, I've got this coming up in my personal life, I can't possibly take more. It's almost the reverse that you're saying. You're saying accelerate in your career, get to that next level, come out of the atmosphere in some ways. Where it's, or perhaps that journey out of the atmosphere that's a little bit bumpy, because when you get to that next level, you have much more flexibility, control, and ability to juggle many things. That's almost like a counterintuitive move that not that many people are aware of, and I certainly have noticed that. In addition to actually showing them and sharing your experience, what has been your experience of mentoring people through that transition? How do you give them that impetus to take that leap of faith, to go into that more strategic, scary, risky position when the chaos is happening, perhaps at home?
I think it's that belief, you're
Yes.
giving them the belief that it can happen.
That they can do it.
And also helping them, I guess, play it forward. I think with anything, well, okay, if you let's say you do this and it doesn't work, where will that take you anyway?
Yeah.
Right? So let's play that situation forward. Or so then it's sort of like, well, and then going back to that, well, where do you want to go? Why? What do you think your strengths are?
Yes.
Well, okay, where if there is a big gap, what is that, that you feel is holding you back? Does this fill that gap? Just sort of enabling the navigation of that kind of conversation. So I think it's about just helping people make sure they're asking the right questions of themselves. And that they've got helping get the clarity within their mind. Often people don't know how to make a decision because they feel like they haven't necessarily determined, well, what is most important to them? Is it this? Is it that? Is it that? So you sort of, I guess, pull all the bits out, separate them, discuss them individually, help that people start to see the clarity of what's important to them and why, where they want to go. So it's really about asking the questions in my mind rather than telling them what to do. It's just helping them step back, pull it all apart, work out how they feel and then put it back together again. And then often they go, oh, well, actually, now we're talking about it this way. Maybe now I'm thinking this or I'm thinking that. And then I think the other thing there is just helping them, well, what do they need to do next? You don't have to make a decision in the 15-minute or the 30-minute conversation you're having, or often it's an hour or whatever. But you don't have to make a decision there. It's actually just saying, well, what are the next steps? How about you go away and think about this and this, maybe write this down. Maybe it's worthwhile going and talk. There's some missing information here. How about you go and talk to that person? Here's someone who's done this before. Go and get their perspective. Just again, helping them navigate next steps. I think all of that's really important.
You are, just in what you've just said, I think you've just summarized so beautifully what mentoring can be. You're explaining actually how you help organize the chaos into someone's brain. You're and I always say, mentoring is like being invited into someone else's brain. It's a great privilege because you get to you get to reorganize things with your questions and bring and shine that light and bring that clarity for someone to then say, oh, that makes sense now. I've got it. So you said ask a lot of questions. Don't give them the answer. Don't make the decision for them. Provide that clarity. Perhaps by how do you actually provide that clarity? If you see there's a little bit of messy thoughts and everything is on the table, how do you, as the mentor, help provide order in the chaos of their thinking?
Yeah, I think breaking it down. Into sections, particularly, so you can go,
breaking it down.
Yeah, breaking it down. So let's just focus on you first and where do you think you want to go? And and then what do you think, what do you love about what you're doing? And why are you thinking that you might want to change that? What is it that's causing that? And help them work out whether there's a bias in there that maybe they're thinking in the wrong direction.
Beautiful.
Or there's maybe some misinformation, and because that's often where I find them say, oh, but I just don't think I can do this because at the moment I am I'm so busy, I do not have time. So if I take that step up,
Yes.
How am I going to do that? Because
Yeah.
there's this assumption, as I
Yes.
said, that
Yes.
if you take a bigger role, it's got
Yes.
more work. And then
Yes.
if you take a bigger role, it's got more work. Whereas I guess what I'm saying is it's not that it's got more work. It's probably got the same amount of work, just ordered differently.
Yeah.
So you don't have to think that it's that plus that, and then the next role is that plus that. It's actually not that at all. So again, if there's a bit of misinformation, you can help pull that misinformation,
reframe
it,
their perspective.
challenge
on
it.
this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if they then are challenged, then that actually that might have been the stumbling block that was stopping them
Yes.
from seeing the
clarity.
Yeah,
Love
could
it.
have been.
Yes.
Or it could just be that they're not breaking it down enough. So they're
Yes.
just not weighing up what's important to them and what's not important to them. Just got too much information
Yes.
going on around in their head. So
Yes.
and there's always with anything, and I see this as in my current role around investment, often people don't feel that there's downside to not making a decision. They often think there's only downside to making a decision. And that can be for investing, or do I really want to take that leap and make that investment? Or if I do nothing, I can't get in, I can't get in trouble for making a wrong investment.
Yes.
It's especially when things are volatile in a market.
Yes.
You can apply the same analogy to people and their careers and what have you. They're going, well, I'm scared, I'm uncertain.
Yes.
So if I just do nothing, I'm playing it safe.
Yes.
Whereas actually that can make things a whole lot worse.
Yes.
Because either you're unhappy or you're not progressing the way you want
Paralyzed.
to, or you're, so that's not helpful for
Yeah.
anyone either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this. So your intent as a mentor is to help bring clarity in someone's chaotic thinking, which, as humans, we tend to all be like this, but it takes an external person, doesn't it, to actually unpack the different aspects of what makes perhaps this situation difficult in your head.
Yeah.
And I love what you said. You catch the assumption. You look for the assumption that might be incorrect, and you challenge that assumption.
Yeah.
And that's where the clarity comes.
Yeah.
So asking a lot of questions, then seeing perhaps hearing what is being said, that could be an assumption that's not helpful, challenging that assumption to help bring clarity.
Yeah.
Now, you said, of course, you ask a lot of questions, and you said, I ask people to tell me about their strengths and where they want to go, etc. What are your go-to questions when you start a mentoring conversation? What are some of the key questions you hear yourself ask all the time?
Yeah, I think what helps is, especially when you're starting any session, is really understanding the past to now.
Yes.
And understanding, well, okay, so why'd you do that? How'd you do that? Why'd you do that?
Yes.
And you can start to see the pattern of thinking, and
right.
And then you can also then start to say, well, right. So and then you can start to bring out, well, so what did you enjoy out of all of that? Because that's real.
Yes.
It's real, it's tangible. People can look back on it.
Yes.
Yeah. So they can refer to that to then
Yes.
help them think about that. Because if you just sit there in one point and just say, well, what are your strengths? Some people maybe, I haven't thought about that, and I don't like talking about myself or whatever.
Of course.
But you go, well, but it's more like, well, what have you enjoyed through that? And where do you think you've performed well? And therefore, then you can say, well, so therefore, what do you think, if you were sitting here today, what would you say your strengths are? It's a lot easier for them to answer that question. So you've also got to help them answer that question if they haven't done a lot of that already. So I think that's really important. I think just then it's in terms of where they're going and where they want to go. A lot of people that are early on in their careers, and I remember myself particularly, where do you want to go? I don't know. And one of the first things I sort of say is, you better not to pigeonhole yourself and say, I want that next.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not necessarily a role.
Yes.
It's what direction do you want to go in? So, because, where do you see yourself? What do you enjoy? Where do you, and why? Again, why do you think that?
Yes.
And again, if you've gone through the past and then you're asking them about the future, you start to get that feeling, and you go, well, what you want to do is, in making your decisions now, is not necessarily to get yourself in that role in 18 months' time necessarily. It's to point yourself in the direction that you think you want to be going, so that you've got really wide options.
Keep your options
open in the direction that you want to go. And so I know in one of the ones in particular that I've worked with recently, it was more of the actual decision that they were looking to make actually might have really narrowed their future options.
Right.
and brought those options right in. But it was seen as, but I'm interested in, I really want to make a move now. So I'm just, and I'm thinking I'll just take that. And it's like, well, let's just step back. Let's play that forward. Where will that, what will that give you, and where might that take you? And therefore, maybe that's the one you don't need to be taking, because you need to be thinking, maybe don't be so rushed. Don't forget, this is the environment we're in at the moment. This is what's happening around us. So don't, you've got to be mindful of that. Again, a bit of that reality, and focus on reality and perspective. And, I referred to the mentor who's been very instrumental for me. I've had lots of other mentors as well. I often will check in with a number of different people when I'm making a very big decision.
Get different perspectives.
Get very different perspectives. And fantastic perspectives you can get is someone who's just in the industry and quite an external, that maybe doesn't, but will give you just a perspective of how they're seeing the industry and how that opportunity might be fold out from an industry perspective. And so someone who knows the peers that work in that area, or the more specifics around that part
that they have can help bring that different perspective.
Absolutely. And that and you go, wow, I actually didn't see that was happening in the industry, but maybe that isn't a place I want to be going because of for various reasons, or it is for various reasons. So I always think speaking to a number of people before you make big decisions is really important. And then family as well. Like family, I love family, because family and close friends will just give it to you very straight. They'll tell you if you're just reading it all wrong. If you're just trying to, you think you're trying to convince yourself that this, they'll call it. And I think that's really important, because they know what gets you out of bed, and they know what makes you happy. And they know really who you are and your values. And so I think, getting a family perspective or a close friend perspective,
someone who knows you very well.
Someone who knows you very well as just individually as a person. Getting industry perspective, and then more of a mentor, someone who just knows you from a workplace perspective and a career perspective. You don't want to put yourself necessarily in a role where you're not going to perform. And that's why I think sticking to your strengths is super, super important. Because if you make any role change, everything's new as it is. It may be a new culture or new people that you might be working with if you're staying in the same organisation, new requirements on you around skills and what have you. So if you're doing that and going somewhere where you're not sticking to your strengths, your ability to adapt to that is going to be so much harder. And you want to give yourself the best chance of success. So that's where I think, having someone who's worked with you before and can be real about you in a work context, what your strengths are, but then family in terms of knowing what makes you tick and what your values are, and then, industry perspective around, is this the right move, and are you reading the world out there in the right, the lens are all really important perspectives to be able to navigate before you make a big decision.
And I love how you said, if you ask someone what are your strengths, it's going to be very difficult for them to answer that. Ask them what they've loved. Get to know them to the core. As you have said, that's what your mentors do so well, is getting you really understanding who you are at the core, what makes you tick. You also said something before, which really is symptomatic, I think, to great mentoring, is if someone's not ready to make a decision, that's okay. And you also said, let's make sure that we understand that not making a decision is a decision in itself that could be actually, potentially risky. But you said it doesn't matter if they're not able to make a decision straight away. Let's discuss what the next step is. Let's actually agree on what you're going to do about it. And perhaps it's that perspective, additional perspective taking. So taking a board of mentors, bringing those different perspectives from different people.
Yeah, very important, because again, different people, different generations maybe, but, you don't want to make a decision too quickly without really thinking about it and playing it forward. You do see if people have a lot of job changes on their resume, that employers can start to go, oh, well, are they committed? Are they committed? Are they still trying to work out who they are, what they're doing, and what have you? So you can't just go, oh, well, I'll just do it. If I don't like it in 2 months, I'll leave. That's actually not really good for brand or for your own personal, what you're putting yourself through personally. There's a lot involved in making changes and all that uncertainty. So even though you go, oh, it'll be all right, you're still putting that enhanced pressure on yourself as well. So I do think you want to get the balance between spending the time to making the best informed decision that you can. But also not necessarily not making a decision because you're too scared. So it's trying to find that balance. Yeah.
Penny, last question for you. I hear you so passionate about, like, when you talk about mentoring, I can see how passionate you are in investing in other people and helping other people make the right decisions about their career. Like your mentors have helped you make the right decisions about your career. And as you said, you've had a very varied career. So at each point in time, getting that board of mentors has been really important. But for you as a mentor, what do you take out of it?
Every time. It's amazing. Every time I speak with someone, and I can't help it because the way I do mentor is often self-reflection.
Yes.
And so you reflect. It could be, and actually even in coaching as well. You know, I've got some, often might be in a mentor session or whatever, and then I'm asked about, you know, how would you, or they're got a challenge at work and they're trying to navigate or whatever. And so then you start moving into coaching mode. And often I walk away from those and go, actually, I just should have, I'm now just got to listen to myself because that was some really good advice that I could apply right now. It forces you just to stop, to think and to assess. And often you walk away going, just that self-reflection and the advice you're giving others is always beneficial. But also the perspective you hear from the mentee is always a different perspective. Again, you take something from that. Always take something from that. Every session I have with trying to coach someone or mentor someone, and to be honest, even just in everyday work, you're sitting down with your team, coaching them and helping them navigate things. You know, I feel after every meeting, I go, actually, now I think I need to apply that over here, which is you know, when I talk about the bit I've actually really enjoy about moving through into leadership positions and the positions I've got now is I really enjoy the time that you have to spend thinking about things and how you influence, how you navigate, how you set strategy, how you build teams and culture. And so in doing mentoring, you all those bits are there that you can then apply to yourself and every day. So continually learning. So I feel by mentoring, I get energized. I get energized. I feel I'm learning. So it's this big benefit for myself in being a mentor as it hopefully is to the mentee.
Oh, I'm sure it has been tremendous to mentees. I think what you're boiling it down to really is perspective taking. The power of the mentor is being able to draw out different perspectives from their mentees, but also bring that different perspective by challenging some of their assumptions, asking lots of questions. And by the very fact of doing that, you learn as well as a mentor.
Definitely.
And you've made the great connection as well. Isn't that leadership? Really?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. It is. Yeah.
Oh, Penny, thank you so much. There are so many more questions that I could ask you. You're going to have to come back as a guest on the podcast. Thank you for being with us today. And wishing you all the very best for the next steps of your career and your mentoring relationships.
Oh, fabulous.
Thank you again, Penny.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Mentoring Unlocked. This podcast is powered by MentorKey, the platform designed to make mentoring impactful. If this episode unlocked inspiration within you, please follow, share, or leave us a review.